Hey everybody, Steve here with Printavo, and today I'm really excited to show you Printavo's brand new automation suite. Now, I guess a little more specifically, I'd like to show you some of the differences between how we've traditionally run automation and automatic communication in Printavo, and now we're going to be able to do that, and you're going to be able to do that going forward. So let's take a look at our screen here. And as you'll see, we're just on a My Account page within Printavo. And right now we're looking at, we have our status change notifications and our automations, where again, traditionally, you would go to your status change notifications to, set up your communication, your automatic communication to your customer, right? So you would say, when I go into a certain status, automatically email or text somebody, whether it's the customer, the job owner, or just somebody else. Now, the with this, you were limited to the idea that you can only have one communication type per status. So you would see a lot of people with, quote out for approval, send an email, quote out for approval, send a text, and that definitely worked, but it was extra stuff, right? Now, that was your status change notifications. Under your automations, you had anywhere from 2 to 7, depending on your subscription tier, of these preset triggers and actions where you would fill in the blanks, but you were restricted to these options where, we would say when you go into a certain status, fire off a task group, or if I went into a status, turn on one of my approval buttons, but then you'd still have to go back to your notifications to set up that communication to your customer. Now, instead of limiting you to those status change notifications, which are again one communication type per status, and these 2 to 7 automation preset triggers and actions, you can now set up really whatever you want, right? So now, instead of going back and forth to automations and status change notifications and keeping an eye on multiple types of statuses, at this point, one single status can now trigger multiple actions. So, for example, looking at this status here, you can say, when the customer pays in full, we're going to change the job status to paid begin art. And then when we go into paid begin art, we're going to text and email a thank you note and next steps to our customer. And we're going to assign tasks to our art department, right? So 3 things are tied to this one status. And as I scroll down, you can see how you're no longer linked to, or how you can have one status, I should say, trigger several actions, right? When you create an automation or edit an automation, you'll see, right, you select your trigger and you select your action. Right? You can combine any trigger, right, which is when something's approved, when something's paid in full, or when a status changes. You can combine any trigger with any action. So you can send out a communication, email and or text. You can apply a specific task group. You can request a specific amount of payment. You can request a specific type of approval, or you can change the status, right? Now, what's cool here is now you don't have to go, like I said, you don't have to go back and forth to your notifications and your automations page. So we can, for example, say, here, let's say when the status is changed to, I don't know, quote approval sent, right? Then we can request a quote approval, right? So that turns on that quote approval button. We're saying add request button to the quote approval invoice. And from here, we can send an email and send a text message. So all in one place under one automation. In this case, you're providing 3 separate actions. So just to review, we say we put the job into quote approval sent, and that tells Printavo to turn on the quote button, to send an email, and to send a text message. Now, we have added these CC and BCC fields to our emails. So maybe if you have an internal account or a burner account that's perhaps linked to some Zaps through Zapier, you don't necessarily want the customer to see that, you can always fill that out here, right? We also have added a few more short codes, right? So specific to the invoice owner, like the invoice owner's name and email address, phone number, the customer's email address, phone number, and you can just copy and paste that information into the relevant fields here. So if I want to text, whoopsie, all that information. If I want to text my customer, right, I can just paste my customer's phone number short code in here. So that will by default text your text your customer from their phone number that's on file. So again, you're able to take multiple actions within one automation, right? Now, looking at the overview here, just a couple things to look at. You'll see all these different bars. Now, this one, for example, let's look at this top one here that says text and email quote approval to the customer. You'll see it says if the status changes to quote approval sent, then let's request an approval, send an email, and send a text. That's actually the one that identical to the one that we were just using as an example. So even though we're doing three things, right? We're requesting an approval, turning on that button. We're sending an email and sending a text. This is just one automation. So every bar here is one automation. We give you a high-level view of what each automation does using these identifying icons. So you have a checkbox for approvals. You have a lightning bolt for when statuses change. You have a credit card for when payments are requested. You have a little bullhorn for communication, and you have a task list or a sort of it's a bulleted list here for when you have tasks. So we no longer are you limited to that single task list triggered by a status. You can trigger as many task lists as you want. So if you want to see and how many task lists I have going, right? What I can do is I can just go to my filters and say, let me filter by the action that applies a task group. So instead of having just that one that I had previously, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have as many task groups going out now as I had full amount of automations in the previous system. So that's an overview of our new automation suite. And there's definitely more exciting things coming that we're going to be able to add to this and build on this. But if you have any questions about setting up, new automations or, how your a migration came over from older automations, please don't hesitate to reach out to your dedicated success manager. If you're not sure who that is, go ahead, just email us at success, that's SUCCESS at printavo.com, and we will be more than happy to help you out. Again, thank you so much. We're really, really excited for this. And keep those ideas coming because these wouldn't exist without your feedback. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care.